All right, this is our quick introduction to the symphony. All right, so we're talking about the textbook example of a classical era symphony. There are exceptions to this as composers push the envelope or try to play with the idea, but again, you can't break the rules unless you have the rules. So, what is a symphony? A symphony is a work for orchestra in four movements. The classical era symphony, okay? This is your textbook one, okay? So a movement essentially is kind of like a chapter in a novel, except that a movement in a symphony usually can stand by itself as a piece of music. So it's a complete piece of music, but it's part of a larger whole, okay? Um, so keeping in the new idea that is going around in the Enlightenment that music should be more natural and pleasing and have variety. The symphony is going to address these issues. So in the Baroque, if you remember, musical melodies were sort of longer than the normal vocal range could hum for a regular person. The idea of the music was to express in some ways the complexity and virtuosity that people were fascinated by. And of course, since this is the next time period, everybody's going to rebel. So in the classical era, they thought that it'd be more natural to have short, singable, hummable musical melodies, and that they were going to use pleasing variety. So they were going to use different rhythms. So rhythm was going to be less similar than in the Baroque, where musical rhythm tended to be sort of start and not end, and have less rhythmic change. The composers are going to mess with musical dynamics, louds and quiets, and in between louds and quiets, and we get the crescendo growing to louds and the decrescendo growing to quiets. So we get a lot more expressivity through this variety that people were looking for. So they knew they needed repetition, but they also knew they needed variety to keep it from being boring. Okay. So the four movements, to keep it from being too repetitive, have some different ideas. So movement one is a moderate or fast movement. It's always in sonata form. It's a new form. We'll have a short video on what that is. Movement two is a slow movement. Could be a variety of different forms, but it's going to be slow. So we started off moderate or fast. Now we have a different idea, tempo change, slow, and probably a mood change in the music as well. Movement three is a minuet, which is a common dance rhythm and dance form that survives the Baroque. It's really the only one that kind of creeps in. Because it was such a popular dance. So we don't dance to the minuet in the symphony, but the rhythms that people would have known from it are inside movement three. And movement four is a fast sort of finale, either in sonata form or rondo form, which is another sort of new form that we'll talk about in the form video. So again, symphony is a work for orchestra in four movements in the classical era. In your textbook way, they go fast or moderate, slow, dance, fast, right? So again, every movement is slightly different and has variety from the one before it. Okay? So why all of these new musical forms? With a blank slate for this new idea of a large instrumental work, right? And with the idea that large instrumental works are going to be not just for a party as background ideas, but to be a central part of a performance, the audience needed to understand, and the composer needed to have some sort of plot structure, some sort of outline to follow. And it would be best, since an audience was not used to listening to instrumental music and not listening to large, long pieces of instrumental music, to have a couple of new forms, a couple of new ideas that they would use repeatedly throughout symphonies so the audience would understand what the plot line is. Okay? All you have to think about really is that you know that you're listening to blues music, whether it has lyrics or not. Even if it's an instrumental blues song, you know you're listening to a blues song. And it's actually because of the form. The way the chords are used, the way the chords are repeated, where the repeats happen, that outline is what you identify, whether consciously or subconsciously, and hopefully not unconsciously, when you listen to the blues. Okay? So just keep that in mind, right? Okay? So the music is long. It needs to have a plot structure that people can follow. Given a plot structure, this new musical form, composers can just simply express the form, or they could push the envelope and use that new musical form to thwart the audience or surprise them, like, I see dead people, something like that, where all of a sudden the whole idea changes. Okay, we're going to listen to some different symphony movements from different classical era composers. I'm going to link those in Canvas. Actually, they're already linked there. You're to listen to them and apply the concepts from the form video that we're going to learn. So don't wait to the last minute to study for the listening exam, because these pieces are longer, and a lot of them are just for orchestra. They're going to have similar instrumentation and no words. So you have to listen to the concepts and ideas and hear those musical forms. Okay, so that's your job. Next, you're going to watch the form video, and then you'll go to those links. Actually, I have links for each of the forms in the form video that are part of your listening. Okay, great. Next video.